All right. Navy Captain David Andrew Christenson. He is set to go before Supreme Court if the Department of Justice allows by October 11th. And why we need to expose and disseminate and interview him, get his information out. He is, I don't know what the word is, he has got so much information on so many things going wrong in our nation. It's unbelievable. He needs exposure, and well, okay, he has so much information. Yeah, I think it'll set our nation on fire in a good way. Katrina, well, the Katrina itself event, that in itself was geoengineered and sabotage. It was not just a natural event, and there's genocide there. The Katrina virus, information ties in even with the JFK administration. Louisiana being a hub for government bio and chemical weaponized plants, Tulane University, and where Oswald was with the Folgers Coffee Company as a front for working on virus vaccines and cancer causing during the polio vaccine trials. It just, the BP oil spill, the crimes against humanity there, the not only the purposeful sabotage of the oil rig and British Petroleum, the United Kingdom government, their part in it. Everything that ensued, using Corexit, synthetic, monstrous virus, and everything it's mind-boggling how massive all this is. The death, destruction, corruption, and tying in even with like the Hillary emails right now. So I pray, I hope channels will interview him and help disseminate this information. The deadline for the Department of Justice to hear his information is October 11th. Right now it's the 2nd. Not far away. So he needs some good just channels out there to call him, interview him, get exposure on what he's trying to disseminate, so that it can hopefully, if he gets to go before the Supreme Court, it'll be mind-boggling, the all related information that comes out. Weeping Willow, she has so much information on the BP Gulf region, New Madrid fault line, Corexit, all that. Cynthia, she has so much information. Retired warrior, working endlessly on soldier suicide, stopping it, sharing information about it, the bioweapons, mycoplasma, tying in with Dr. Garth Nicholson and his information, soldier suicide, and civilians too. But they're giving a low estimate, 22 a day. I mean, dear God, if it was 2 a day, it'd be an epidemic. This is 22 a day on a low end. For how long? What is going on? We got to get to the bottom of this. We need disclosure. We need justice. We need good citizens, because our government is useless. We need good citizens to come forward and help fix and show solutions to a lot of these problems. And then let's see. I am just gonna we got a band together, network interview. We got problems with our internet right now that we've heard of. I mean, we could at any day be cut off a little or severely. We don't know. We just gotta get prepped. But let's do what we can while we got the time to. I'm just gonna play a little bit right now of David with Vinny Eastwood interview.
With cancer of some sort. One thyroid cancer, uterus cancer. Another friend of ours had prostate cancer. All young people. One was in her early 20s, one was in her 30s. And when we talked to people, you would bring this out, and they just figured it was just the way life was. And that's one of the things that bothers me about humans right now, especially Americans, is even with the suicide, is like we don't see. We're blinded by this propaganda. And a simple answer, there's two different answers. So one is, you take the Catholic Church, and I'm Catholic. They've been around for 2,000 years. Are we in any better shape today than we were 2,000 years ago? And then in the United States, we have separation of church and state, but in reality, we don't. We brainwash our kids with the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, right and wrong. So it takes a long time to deprogram somebody to say, hey, we believe our government's going to do the right thing, and they don't do the right thing. If you look at the decisions of the Supreme Court over the 200 some years in this country, they've made terrible choices. They've completely gone against what our founding fathers wanted and what this country was, the whole thing was based on. And now we've incriminated our military, our military leadership. You look at this year, I told you about my cousin being an admiral and president of Naval War College. He's got no leadership ability at all. You take General Petraeus, who was director of the CIA. The man's having an affair, and you look at what he compromised. And people don't really understand the truth about what happened and why he resigned. The affair at the time of his resignation was behind him. His wife knew about it. Paula Broadwell gave a speech in Denver and gave out classified information. She said that the United States was holding terrorist prisoners in the annex at the embassy in Benghazi. All right, and what happened was, before the election, Obama, in the Department of Defense and the military, so he would get reelected, there was an attack plan for Libya. 5 things happened, and this came to me because of my connections. One of the least things that happened was Hurricane Sandy hit, just a freak thing. But then,
well, actually, it wasn't just a freak thing. I beg to differ. Geoengineered.
Paula Broadwell, they found out that she gave a speech.
Many people died from that.
She gave out classified information in Denver. The next thing is the FBI agent in Tampa called a congressman that he had known in the House of Representatives, who notified Eric Cantor of what was going on with Paula Broadwell. So this whole thing, got just exploded in front of the president. So also the attack for political purposes was called off because of what was taking place. I mean, our government operates that way. We just, I'm very disappointed if that man there that was just on says, you find good in things. We're running to the cliff and jumping voluntarily. I don't see the good in that. Our suicide rates are so high right now that, a website's not doing it. If there's a chemical imbalance in somebody, or they've been chemically altered, no amount of good of watching a comedy or whatever is going to do any good. So what does our government do? We invent drugs. Do you know, Vinny, my mom's on 18 different medications. She takes 50 pills a day, plus she has a patch. And she's not the uncommon person. She's the norm. And you think about where Alzheimer's came from or dementia. See, I get off on all this. I mean, this is what happens when you become this federal whistleblower. You don't find employment, so you do research. And one of the things I'll tell you, an interesting story, when I got arrested by this SWAT team and all that, incarcerated, on my bond, one of the stipulations if I was going to get out of jail, I couldn't be on the internet. I couldn't do any more research. They were to keep me that way for a year. They wanted to pay me crazy, and they said, here. Also on this particular bond, I couldn't go near 74 people. I couldn't go near my U.S. congressmen, my U.S. senators. I couldn't go near the director of the FBI, all these people, including friends and attorneys. And I couldn't go near my house. if they let me out of jail, I couldn't even go home. So, our government, I tell this to people, and this is on my website on persimmonpublishingus.com under the Documents tab. I had you get this, Vinny, I had a U.S. attorney representing me in court as my defense attorney, gave away all my rights, kept me in jail, and I said, you don't represent me. I'm representing myself. I have never retained you. You don't represent me. Well, I'm here, you're a veteran or whatever. It is so absurd what they can do. And I tell this to people. I show them the documentation. I show them the court record. I give them the transcript. They still don't believe me. They're looking at it, and they say, well, this just can't be. This can't be. And they, but yet it's there. It's in the website. It's unbelievable how little Americans care. We really don't. And the only reason we went in, I truly believe the only reason we went into Iraq last time was for money. Be it Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney and the oil connection. It has ruined the economy, and we're so far in debt right now, we're never coming out. But I want to get back to New Orleans because I'm so worried about this weekend, Vinny. I want people to watch it, watch for people getting sick, and remember that they're going to bring that sickness home to New Zealand and Australia. It's going to travel so fast and so quick. And the question is, what will it mutate into? Our government's prepared for it. I'm sure New Zealand's prepared for it now. Australia, the Red Cross, the International Red Cross, the humanitarian groups, the United Nations is there. I contact the United Nations. They won't respond to me. They won't respond to my letters, my emails, my phone calls. Nothing. They don't care. It's like, well, we got to get money from the United States. We're this big, ugly SOB at the end of the street with the biggest baseball bat, and if you don't do it our way, we're going to crush you. And I absolutely hate that. So,
well,
I don't mean to be so depressing.
Well, look at it this way. You're simply reporting the facts. And I don't know why people don't get this. The truth can be pretty depressing, all right? The truth is the truth is the truth. It's unfortunate. Doesn't mean you have to let it dominate your life and your mindset either.
Well,
Richard in Texas, you're on the air.
Got to deal with it.
Hello, Vinny. Hi, David. And David, I've been following you for a couple of months now, and I very much appreciate your work and thank you for your bravery in bringing this news out and trying to warn people. I wanted to mention a couple of tie-ins. I've read both Me and Lee by Judith Barry Baker, as well as Dr. Mary's Monkey.
This really, really ties in. It's unbelievable. Everything going on today. For people that say, like, 9/11, that was 15 years ago, we got people dying today from it. It's not history. It's ongoing. And so is JFK. No heads have rolled for either JFK, 9/11. It's ongoing.
By Ed Haslam. Are you familiar with those books, David?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, the tie-in with what was going on in New Orleans for a long time historically in terms of dark operations and crazy weaponry and that sort of thing. As you know, they were creating a weaponized form of cancer in an attempt to come up with something that would kill Castro.
At the same time as the polio vaccine was being created. It all ties in.
With Judith Barry Baker and Lee Harvey Oswald working with them. The thing is, New Orleans has always had such a high mafia content that those sort of things probably became easier to establish in New Orleans than they might have been in some other towns around the country. And I just wanted to talk about those correlations and how I think that goes a long way to supporting the information that you're bringing forward, because God knows there was more going on there with the weapons research and that sort of thing than just those two well-publicized stories.
All right, thank you. Richard, thank you very much for your call. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, at the VinnyAcewoodShow.com. Welcome back to the Vinny Acewood Show. It's the final segment that we have here with David Andrew Christenson. I wanted to make sure to plug his website and his YouTube channel one last time for you. So his YouTube channel is called David Andrew Christenson.
And by the way, he mentioned 750 of his videos have been scrubbed. There's about 8 that were mirrored that are still out there on YouTube land. And he said about 95% of his writings have been scrubbed. But his website's still up. And here's his website info.
And his website, persimmonpublishingus.com. That's
Please scan it, scroll it, disseminate it, check it over, share it.
persimmonpublishingus.com. And we wanted to talk about Dr. Mary's monkey. And Richard in Texas, thank you very much for your call in the last thing. That was actually a welcome relief from the other two kind of off-topic and or couldn't hear what they were talking about callers that we had there. So if you want to lead off with that, and you were also talking about the Supreme Court over the break, and we've only got about maybe 10, 11 or 12 minutes to cover both of these topics, David, and because of the amount of info that you're capable of divulging, we're going to have to do it quickly.
Well, let's start with it. I wrote 2 books, and the reason I wrote them was to get them into the Library of Congress and get them into the hands of the Supreme Court. The first book was titled American-Born Terrorists, Emails to the Department of Justice. It describes all the communication between me and the Department of Justice and the Supreme Court prior and after my arrest for cyber stalking, of which I was never charged with any crime, but what they did to me, putting me in isolation for 11 days and medicating me against my will, all in violation of my rights.
Which only takes 1 day. 1 day. Susan Lindauer explains. They tried to get a court order she had a good lawyer judge. 1 day, you get, just 1 day, you get medicated, one time. In a psych ward, you can be lost forever. Lost, like in Alice in Wonderland. You're never coming back. That's one way to kill you off.
The next book was the United States Supreme Court and the Katrina virus. And it's a profound book, and I admit up front that it's incoherent because I needed the information and the documents to go into the Library of Congress. I needed there to be a record of it. And it starts out that this is an epic constitutional crisis between the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive branch. I also very clearly state, Vinny, that 155 million Americans and Canadians have been infected with the Katrina virus. All right, I don't pull any punches about that. That it
hope you guys caught that.
Happened. It was such a grotesque release of weapons of mass destruction that we have destroyed ourselves. We tried to invent a weapon where the other opposing army would commit suicide, and
suicide. Really. Bioweapons where the other side commits suicide.
Didn't. Now this leads into Dr. Mary's monkey. The author of that book has refused to communicate with me, won't call me back, won't respond to my emails. Also, the publisher, the same thing, dating way back since when I first got the book. And I think one of the reasons they won't do it, I'm going to try to explain this to you, is they missed the point of what was going on. If you remember, Oliver Stone had a movie, JFK. He missed the point, too. Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't assassinated because of his connection to the murder of JFK. He was assassinated because of the knowledge he had of what was taking place in New Orleans and what was taking place in Russia. All right.
And every university in our country, they're all compartmentalized, participating in bioweapons, weaponized chemical germ warfare.
The chemical warfare contaminants in both countries were involved. In New Orleans had huge, between the Ochsner Hospital System and Tulane University. That's why he had to go, because once they put him on the stand, he was going to start talking about what was going on in New Orleans. All right, and I could have done more research on that, but suffice it to say that was the key. Whatever happened with Kennedy, I don't know. I'm not involved in that conspiracy. But what I do know is Lee Harvey Oswald was so entrenched in what was taking place in New Orleans with the chemical warfare stuff. And you talk about the mafia and all that. Well, these laboratories were in neighborhoods, in wealthy neighborhoods. They were on Louisiana Avenue, and there was a lot of them were primate labs. And they talk about Dr. Mary Sherman, who was murdered. They've never solved it. It's still listed as unsolved. And Jim Garrett.
Yeah, her body was, She was killed. It was grotesque. They rigged it so this sort of like mini CERN actually. Oh shit! What do they call it? Participle. Well, the machine to electronic machine. Half her body was toast, and they said it was like some crazy stalker murder.
Harrison went after people. They just missed the story. If they would have looked and our government's great for that. Look over here as we do this. They just missed it. It had to do with the chemical warfare weapons and the fact that they were actually releasing, accidentally at that time. But if you look in New Orleans, the health issues of African Americans and even Caucasians, it's incredible. So, it all ties in, and that's one of the things with me is, if you ever follow my life and what I talk about, I am connected to everybody. It is absolutely like Coast Guard Commander William Goatsy. If you follow how he was murdered by our government, his criminal attorney was my attorney. His civil attorney was my attorney. It is absolutely astounding. The story they planted in the press about what he had done was untrue. Our government manipulates. And in New Orleans right now, and you're not familiar with New Orleans, the top 4 U.S. attorneys in New Orleans have all been fired because of prosecutor misconduct. If we had an honest government, all the criminal cases over the last 7 years would be overturned.
Mm-hmm.
And again, people say, well, what about America? 97% of the federal criminal cases are decided by a plea deal. The reason they're decided by the plea deal
97%, he said,
is our government violates constitutional rights,
Yep.
Such as illegal search and seizure, develops information, and they go to a person and say, listen, if you don't plead guilty to this offense that carries a 2 to 5 year prison sentence and you be classified as a felony, you're going to go to prison for 100 years. All right? It's absolute. And here, I'll give you another fact. All right? Federal public defenders, in the Constitution, you have a right to an attorney. It says it in the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights. All federal public defenders work directly for the Attorney General, who's a political appointee. Do you think Eric Holder, the political appointee, wants federal public defenders winning when it's all, when Obama's running for office? No. So you get a corrupt attorney that works for the federal government, that works for the Attorney General, political appointee, who works for Obama, who runs for office. And I'm pointing them out just because they're in office right now. All right, minorities, poor people, they don't get attorneys.
That's right.
All right, they don't get a fair shake at a trial. They don't get a fair shake at history. We have the United States has the largest incarcerated criminal population in the world.
That's right.
Both in numbers, sheer numbers, and as a percentage of the population. All right, 35% of those people in federal prison, are there for crimes they didn't commit. They had to plea bargain some other crime, all right, and that's why they're there. You're not innocent until proven guilty in the United States. And that's why I say, I've lived it all, Vinny. I'm not sitting on the sidelines. I'm in this game. It's happened to me. I'm telling you, you're not innocent until proven guilty. You don't have a right to free speech. You don't have a right to own a weapon. I can go on and on about how corrupt our government is. And yet we carry a big stick because of the money and the nuclear weapons, and yet we're killing our troops. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
Go on.
I tell you, I'm going to be lighthearted this week. I find humor in a lot of things to take care of this stress.
Okay, look at it seems like he's talking about a lot of broad, general, New World Order, what we're facing today's subjects. He's got specifics. Katrina, the BP oil spill, the new Madrid fault, Weeping Willow ties in, soldier suicide, retired warrior ties in. It's here, it's today, it matters. It needs to get out there because it's like the tip of the iceberg that'll open the door to so much more. So I don't know. I don't know how quite to convey, how to best convey. I hope good folks out there contact him. Get to his Permission website, P-E-R, oh shit, M-I-S-S-O-N. It's like a tomato. It's the word of a tomato. PermisonPublishing.com. Please contact him. The number's there. Interview him. Disseminate. Spread this information. Seems like so much is going on, but this matters. It matters for our country, the state of our republic, if we're going to restore it. It's so broad-based in so many ways, very specific on some very massive yet specific genocide. Katrina and the BP and the New Madrid, massive, major. And Katrina virus, major. It affects the whole world. And yet, you know, and he, single-handedly, he's got so much info on it. It's like unbelievable. So I pray to God we can get this out somehow. I don't know. You know, it's a short amount of time in the justice system, but even things don't work out. With the internet troubles that we may have soon, things getting scrubbed, shut down. We all know we can be shut down in a heartbeat. We cannot. Well, let's just do all we can. And that reminds me, Kafka Winston World. She just put out a video saying, look, like-minded people, put out on my video, she put a video up, saying where you're at, your locale, if you want to meet with like-minders in your area. Just put it out there. This is the kind of networking and the info and advantage we need to take right now of this internet while we still have it. While some are using it to play games and, you know, foolishness, we can't take it. We cannot take it for granted. How many more days we got full use of this damned internet communication system that is the people's, but yet restricted. And so, well, please, let's just do all we can and go forward. Fight the good fight, not get discouraged. I mean, every day they ramp up. It's glum. It gets glummer. Glummier, I was going to say, not a word. It seems surreal and overwhelming, and we can feel paralyzed, like, at some point, what can we do? But I'm telling you, let's just keep foraging ahead and do all we can. So, thank you, and God bless.